Hi everyone. Today's lesson is the start of human-environment interactions, our fifth theme of the 5 themes of geography. So on this slide, you can see that there are 2 questions and then one more bullet. The first question says, how do people affect the environment? You want to think about this as we study this last theme in geography. The second one is, how does the environment affect people? So how does where we live affect the way we live? And the third bullet says, studying the human-environment interaction allows us to look at the effects, both positive and negative. Okay, next slide. This paragraph explains how humans have modified or changed the environment. Follow along as I read, starting at the beginning. Sometimes a human act, such as damming a river to prevent flooding or to provide irrigation, requires consideration of potential consequences. A consequence is an effect of something that has happened. The construction of Hoover Dam on the Colorado River, for example, changed the natural landscape, but it also created a reservoir that helps provide water and electric power for the arid Southwest. Arid means dry. Studying the consequences of human-environment interaction helps people plan and manage the environment responsibly. As the previous slide explained, humans have built dams to harness water for power and for water resources. This is an example of the Grand Coulee Dam on the Columbia River in our state, Washington. Has anyone ever been there before? Our next slide is another example of a dam in the state of Washington. It says these photos are of the Rocky Reach Dam near Wenatchee, Washington. In this visitor center, it is complete with a museum, interactive displays, a fish ladder, and a viewing area. It's actually a really interesting place to visit. In today's lesson, we want to understand the difference between humans adapting to the environment and humans changing the environment. Now, the word change is going to be modify, human modification of the environment. The first concept that we are going to talk about is adapting, which is defined as humans change the way they live to survive in their environments. The first example that we are going to talk about is genetic changes. So how we have evolved over time, how our bodies have evolved over time. The second one is developmental changes, so how our bodies have changed and also how those have changed over generations. The third example is acclimatization, so think about the weather with this one. And the last one is going to be cultural or technological advances. So the word cultural, think about groups of people, and technological, think about the different kinds of technologies over time that have been developed to help us survive in our environments. The next 4 slides are going to be explanations for each idea on the previous slide about adaptation. This first one is about genetic change. It reads, genetic change in humans is slow, but it is known to occur. So you have to think about generations over time and how our bodies have changed. In Europe during the last ice age, a variety of humans called Neanderthals developed a number of cold weather adaptations that presumably helped them survive in the frigid climate. Now you got to think that early man didn't have the same brain as us, nor an understanding of how to survive in different climates. So they had to adapt. And the way that they adapted to their environment was their bodies changed. So the last part says, among these were a stocky frame. So think about the body's build being stocky. Large noses for efficient heat exchange. So they're able to bring in oxygen, and that oxygen is able to convert itself in the body to keep the body warm. And thick, robust bones that permitted the attachment of large muscles to help them survive and hunt and eat and climb over things in their environment. The second example is about a genetic evolution. This example brings in history with World War II, and it reads, developmental adjustments are faster than genetic evolution as they play out on a generational scale. So generations, think about you being one generation, your parents being another generation, and your grandparents being yet another generation. So this example is after World War II, the common diet, what people ate, the common diet of Japanese people changed to include more animal protein. While this had no effect on Japanese adults, their children and grandchildren grew faster during childhood to an average of 7 inches taller, all because of animal protein. This slide is about acclimatization. Can you say that word? Try it just once. Acclimatization is even faster than developmental adjustments and can work within a single individual's lifetime. An example of this is the body's ability to add and shed fat in response to a changing diet and also exercise. If you've seen the TV show The Biggest Loser, you see the transformation of a person who incorporates exercise and diet into their lifestyle, and so their body changes. The last example for human adaptation is about cultural and technological changes. This paragraph said that those are among the most complex adaptations humans use. Clothes, fire, and radio communications are all technologies humans have developed as insulation against the demands of the natural world. So this photo I chose is of search and rescue finders or search and rescue workers. Now, when someone is out of cell phone range and they are looking for another person that may need help, they don't have cell phone to be able to use. So we've adapted to the environment with technology and using radios in this type of environment. The second part of the lesson is about human modification to the environment. The definition for this says, making changes to the environment in positive and negative ways to obtain, which means get what we want. Next slide. This is an example of how humans have modified the environment. Have you taken a road trip lately and driven across the state of Washington on Interstate 90? Near Snoqualmie Pass, they have been working on the highway for quite some time to make the road wider so it makes traffic flow better. This slide says, in agriculture, many crops are sprayed with fertilizer to make crops grow faster, and it's also sprayed with chemicals to deter bugs. All of these are examples and ways that humans have modified the environment.